How many times have you thought to yourself, I know that I have so much more potential. I know that there's so much more that I'm capable of. I know that I definitely have. And let's face it, it kind of sucks when you just know that there's so much more in you, but for some reason you're not accessing it, you're not living it, you're not playing full out. And so in this episode, I'm going to share with you the powerful mindset shifts and strategies that I discovered and that I continuously use for myself and for my clients so that we can grow and play at our highest level. The reason I want to share this with you is because I want you to live your highest potential and for you to not have any regrets living your life to the max, to the fullest. Let's get started. Welcome to a new episode of What If It Is Possible, a podcast for your heart and soul that gives you full permission to follow your biggest, boldest, most audacious dreams and goals and helps you see what's possible for you. My name is Taida. I'm the founder of a premium private coaching practice. I'm a professional life and career coach, and I help ambitious and heart-centered professionals and leaders find their purpose, create meaningful and fulfilling lives, doing the work they absolutely love, making an impact in this world. If you're new here, subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with your friends and your loved ones so that they can create fulfilling and meaningful lives too. This is how I unlock my untapped potential, 3 strategies no one talks about. Welcome to the first episode of season 3. How exciting. It took a little bit, as you may have noticed, but there's a good reason for that because the podcast is up leveling and there were quite a bit of changes that were happening in the back end. So let me kind of tell you what's new around here. So first thing, if you're watching this on YouTube, you already know, but in case you're listening, we are now on YouTube. Wow, this has been a dream of mine for a really, really long time. And finally, season 3 is the season that it's happening. And one thing that I really, really love about us being on YouTube is that I can see your comments and we have like a chat option, or at least we can chat in the comments. So there's much more of a sense of a community. And I love that because I really want to hear from you. I want to hear your thoughts, your input, your aha moments, your insights, whatever thoughts you always have around the episode. So I'm so excited about that. Number 2 is that we're going to have an editor on the podcast that's going to be joining me, taking off a little bit of the workload of the editing part. And they're going to be joining me sometime throughout the season 3. And the third thing is that I want to challenge myself with content creation, and I want to take this podcast to the next level, bring you even better content, more engaging content, fun, more valuable content. And I also want to up the production quality, which is why we are now also on YouTube. And so I would love to know from you, now that we are on YouTube, what's been keeping you up at night? What is something that you feel stuck with in this moment? I'd love to hear from you. And so let's start using the comment section at YouTube, on YouTube already. And what I would love for you to do, and I want to make this fun, and I've designed a little game, like you can win something. So the first 20 people that comment what's been, that answer these questions, what has been kind of keeping you stuck at night, what are you challenged with in your work, in your life, in your business, the first 20 people that comment that under this video on YouTube and subscribe are going to be eligible to win one of 2 Enneagram tests. So I swear by these. This is exactly what I use with my clients, and it's probably going to blow your mind a little. So this is an amazing prize. It's a paid test, but you get a chance to win it if you do that. So I really, really hope you participate, and I hope you win. And if not, just kind of play along and see where that takes you. And I'm going to announce the winners of this little game on Instagram on 5th August 2026. So that's a week from today. Before we dive into the nitty gritty of this episode, where I share the strategies that I use or that I discovered to tap my untapped potential, I want to give you a little caveat. So, this is an important kind of side note, which is the strategies that I'm going to share with you today. I use them on top of my foundational work. So I don't want you to think, okay, if I do these 3 mindset shifts or use this strategy, it's going to be like easy peasy. These strategies are an amazing way to help you, something to use on a daily basis for quick mindset shifts. But as it often is, if we want to create long-term sustainable changes, not just something that's going to last us a month or 2, a deeper level of inner work is needed, often on an unconscious basis. So I always want to share the reality of this stuff for you. I know that, there's these big promises in marketing, do this thing for 3 days and your whole life is going to change and you're going to be a millionaire. But that's not how life works. And, I want to be the voice here that tells you, yes, anything is possible, but also show you the work that really needs to go into this. So the first caveat, like I mentioned, is that these things are amazing for you to use to trick your mind in your daily life, and to start reprogramming some of that stuff. Maybe a deeper level of work is going to be necessary if you don't see big or bigger results in like 1 month or 2. So know that. Number 2, I use these things on top of something that I call my foundational work. So I strongly believe that the reason that I'm able to tap into my potential the way that I do is because I have rituals and practices that I have integrated into my life. And all of these practices have basically 1 or 2 intentions. The first one is they allow me to connect with myself so that I can actually hear myself and hear what is my body saying, what is my intuition saying. Because if I'm like disconnected and focused everywhere else, I'm not going to be able to hear what my system is actually telling me. And the second reason is because we want to make sure, I want to make sure that I nourish myself, and that's another way to access that wisdom and that connection, right? For example, if I know that I need 8 hours of sleep a night to be at my optimal level, it may be different for you, and that's okay. But if I do that, or on days that works like that, I'm much more connected. I'm much more tapped and tuned into my potential. And honestly, I just have more energy to do stuff. Because if we want to tap into our full potential, we need to go into action. We need to change a couple of things. So here are the things that I do, because I want to be completely transparent so that this is my foundational work. So I meditate daily. And by the way, these are all non-negotiables. It doesn't mean that I do them perfectly. There are times when I slip, or there's a couple of days that I miss. But all in all, if I would look at it across a span of a year, I think I do it about 80 to 85% of the time, which is what we want to be aiming for. So I meditate daily, I journal daily, and I set my goals and intentions daily. Then I do inquiry work, and I get coached on my own topics. So maybe I'll switch this around. Daily stuff, meditation, journaling, setting my goals and intentions. Weekly stuff is getting coached and doing inquiry work. So inquiring into my thoughts and beliefs. Then something I do It's hard to say daily because I think I probably do it multiple times a day when I notice that my nervous system is getting dysregulated. So when I get triggered, it's kind of those moments where you kind of phase out or you get emotionally upset. Your first thing really wants to be, you just want to settle your nervous system. And there are lots of practices, lots of ways to do that, whether it's tapping, it's breath work, it's movement, like so many things. Also, things that take like 2 minutes maybe. So I do that. And because it's very, very important to me that as much as I can, I want to be in a settled state of my nervous system, or I want my parasympathetic nervous system essentially to be activated, which makes sure that we're in a state of calmness, of peace, because, from there, that's where we can live our highest potential and access the things that ideas, the things that we can't when we're activated, ideas, new thoughts, opportunities that we weren't able to see before. And then it's just really the basics. So getting enough sleep, eating good food, and moving however you want to move. The way that I really enjoy moving is doing yoga and taking walks. So this is my foundation. On top of this foundation, I use lots of strategies. Among other things are these three. Okay, so one more thing before we get to the three strategies that I forgot, but I just looked at my notes. So we're going to do a little experiment. And first, start with making your potential a little bit more tangible. I mean, accessing my full potential, your full potential can be a very abstract thingy. Like, what is it? Where can I see it? How can I measure it? How do I know, or how do I not know that I'm doing it? My belief is, and also from my 7 years of experience working with private clients, I see that we all have an innate wisdom, a knowing whether we're playing at our highest potential in a certain area of our lives or not. So again, we can be talking about, oh, I want to live my full potential in my relationship, in my work, in my position as a leader, as a business owner, maybe even in your workouts, So wherever you want to live your full potential, there's this innate knowing in us, whether we've reached it or we've not reached it yet. So it's going to be within you. And I want to prove this to you by doing this little experiment. So think of the area where you want to make or where you feel like you want to live more of your potential, where you want to grow, where you feel like you're slacking a little, you're keeping yourself small. So just think of that area. I mean, it could be, oh, I'm not like doing Instagram creation enough, or I feel like I could be better at communicating. I feel like I really want to start a business, but I'm not doing that. Or maybe you want to get better at something and you just feel that you're kind of, not really there. So I'm going to give you a scale from 1 to 100. Okay. 1 is I'm using barely any potential or none at all. 100 is I'm playing at my highest potential in this area. So now just take a little breath. You can close your eyes just so you find a little bit of calmness and stillness within your heart. And then just notice very, very intuitively, first number that comes to mind, how much of your potential do you believe that you're currently living in that particular area? Now that you have the number, and you can pause this if you need a little bit longer, I'm going to share the results with you. Okay, so if you have anything above 70, you're in the green. That means like you're already on a very good track. You are absolutely above the average. Just need to do a couple of smaller, I want to say changes, work with the inner, do some inner work, work with the unconscious so that you allow yourself to actually go to that next level and experience those last 30%. This is where we often get stuck because of our own limitations. And we just, for whatever reason, unconscious reason, of course, don't allow ourselves to go bigger. But so you're already like, you've got it. You've got it. Okay. So it's just about fine tuning for you. Next, if you have a result that's between 30 and 70, you are in what I would call the orange area, which means there are some foundations, like there are aspects of your potential that you're already using, you're growing, but it seems like you're not really allowing yourself to go there fully, again, for whatever reason. So for you, I would really, really recommend to look into certain systems that you can put into place, and also do inner work around why are you holding yourself back, why you're not allowing yourself to play a bit higher. Again, I may be biased, but I love the Enneagram. It can also give us clues as to understanding what do we need to be successful, based on our personality type. And then if your results are between 0 and 30, that to me is a red area. So it's kind of like, or, you can call it like a little red flag, which is just signaling to you, okay, you're barely using your potential in this area. So what's happening here? So this really, really needs a bit of a deeper inquiry and deeper work. And tends to happen when we let our patterns lead. So when our fears start getting very loud and or they start getting loud, and also we actually listen to them and we believe them, or typical patterns that would show up here in, I would say, like a higher scope, are perfectionism. It needs to be perfect before I do this, or I need to have I don't know if you want to improve your communication, I need to say things perfectly, and then you just end up not doing it or avoiding it, or you're procrastinating, for example, when it comes to content creation. So all of these things, are just clues. Okay, there's something in my system that's holding me back, but really, and I think this is so fascinating. There's two parts within you, right? There's one part who's like, but I want to live my full potential. Yeah, I want to. And then there's another part that's like, no, 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 no. We're not going to let you do that because that's dangerous. And so, you really want to look into what's really happening. What are some of those patterns? Switch, transform, and integrate those patterns, so that then that part that actually is ready, that's like, yeah, let's go, let's go, let's go. So that part really gets to take more space in there. So I'm curious what result you got. See, this is also something that you can comment underneath the video. And now that you know where you stand, let me share the strategies with you. So, whatever we're going to do, and so here's the thing, right? Again, in Slovenian, we say we need to pour ourselves a drink of clear wine. That just means, let's be honest, okay? Let's be honest. Whenever you're going to want to move outside of your potential or play at your highest, it's gonna invite you to do something that you don't normally do, to change your behavior, to do something differently, to put more effort into something. And it's probably going to be including a level of discomfort, because the comfortable thing, the one that is, oh, let me just not do anything, and I'll just kind of hang out here. But then what you're also probably realizing is, okay, but if I keep doing this, if I keep not changing something, nothing's going to change. And so this is what I mean when we tap into your potential. It's going to require a certain level of effort and change. because we can't expect change to happen if we kind of input the same level of energy and effort that we have up until now. Now, knowing that, what we want to do with these strategies is to make that effort and discomfort easier so that it's, that it doesn't feel as overwhelming, that it feels manageable, that it feels like, okay, I could do this and I'm going to do it, And so this is why we want to use these strategies. We want to make that going into action bit easeful and lighter so that you actually do the things. And then once you're on the other side, it's like, oh my God, it wasn't that hard anyways. And it's kind of cool here, but we got to get you to the other side first. And that's why that's what these 3 strategies are for. The first strategy that I use to unlock my untapped potential is that I make the higher level of effort my new normal. So I'm going to dive right in with an example of my yoga practice. So a couple of years ago, my normal level of effort with my yoga practice was 3 intense hours. So 3 times or 1 hour of intense yoga 3 times a week. For me, that felt like a stretch at the time. It felt like, okay, it's a lot of effort, but it's doable. I was used to it and it was normal. So that to me was my normal and what I like to call a normal set point. So that's just the level of effort that you're used to and that to your system feels doable. And then, there was a point where I was like, okay, but I'm not kind of making the progress I want to be making. I want to get better in my asanas. I want to, have more strength, more flexibility, and just kind of get better, So then at the time, I joined a 1-month yoga challenge where the normal set point was much higher than what I was used to. That was 2 hours of yoga a day. I mean, versus before I was used to 3 hours of yoga over a week, and this was 2 hours of yoga a day. So as you could see, like the normal in that energy field was 2 hours of yoga a day. Of course, I mean, for teachers that was normal. And what I realized at the time is like, our perceptions of normal or of difficult are different. And what was normal for me, or like, okay, this is a high effort for me, 3 hours of yoga a week, was very different for other people, And I also, if you look into the world, and I'm using yoga as an example, but I knew back then too that there were yogis that practice an hour a day, and that they exist and that they go about their yoga practice a bit differently. And so my question at the time was, if my normal is 3 hours a week and that feels like a lot, how do I change my expectations so that now all of a sudden I push that up to 6 hours a week, and so that or 6 days a week, so that that feels normal? What can I do? Because I wanted to reset my normal set point from 3 times a week to 6 times a week. And now, if we just kind of go about this, like, oh, I'm going to do yoga 6 times a week, I mean, it may work for like 1 to 2 weeks while you're still motivated. And then at some point, it's going to be like, well, this is hard, it's heavy, but maybe I could do just 4 times, whatever. We start coming up with excuses. I'm not going to say that this is, true for everyone 100% of the time, but it's true a lot of the times. And so, of course, we want to set ourselves up for success. And we want to start making those changes, not by just doing the outer changes, kind of, yeah, being disciplined and like pushing through. But really, what can I start changing in my inner world so that this whole thing becomes more easier? And so here's where the strategy comes into place. And the strategy is move your normal set point from the lower set point to a higher set point in your inner world. Okay. So, how I did that, I used two little tricks to trick my mind a little bit. So the first one was I wanted to almost like approach yoga and my yoga practice as those people who were already living those goals that I personally had. So the yogis and the teachers who were already practicing 6 hours a week and or 6 days a week, and I wanted to think how they're thinking. I wanted to make that thinking my normal. And so, what would a person that's already practicing yoga 6 days a week think? And this is important for them. That's their normal. It's their normal. They're not questioning it like, I'm going to do it. This is my life. I'm going to go onto the mat regardless of how my body feels. This is my priority. I make time for this. I wake up, I do my yoga. That's it. Like there's no questioning. There's no like that inner dialogue. Do I do it? Do I not do it? And also there's this, yeah, my body can do it. And maybe one day is going to be stronger and one day is going to be, less strong, but I'm just going to do it. And so I started really putting myself into the thinking process of someone who practices like that, and what do they do and how do they think and how do they approach yoga. And someone like that like picks up their mat and they just go. They don't think about it. Like it's the same as brushing your teeth. So that's one way. And the other way that I experimented with, and this one worked even better for me, was that I imagined that I was someone that I grew up practicing yoga 6 days a week. So this is how we're hacking the unconscious, right? You have certain programming that was uploaded into your system when you were little. Now, maybe you had parents, and this is what I came back to when I was doing this little experiment. Maybe you have parents that brought you up in a way where doing 1 hour of exercise a day was as normal as brushing your teeth. I mean, there are people out there who are incredibly active, who are in movement constantly, who go to the gym every day, and maybe you were brought up in that household, and without you needing to think about that as an adult, it's just a part of your DNA. It's just what you do. Of course you go to the gym every day. I mean, you don't second guess it, right? But then if you were brought up not like that, then that's something that you still need to learn and incorporate into your daily life as an adult. And so I didn't have that. My parents were very active people, but it wasn't like that set daily thing like it is with yoga. They would go to the mountains and hiking and cycling and all of these things and doing work around the house and taking walks. But it wasn't like I didn't really see anyone in my family go to the gym every day or do 1 hour of Pilates, that just wasn't a part of my family system. So it's not in my DNA. And now I actually, by reprogramming the mind, I want to now put that program into my mind. And I mean, you could always do this on an unconscious level within a coaching session with a professional, but for, um, for what we're doing here, we're not going to do that. And I'm just going to give you a strategy that you can easily adapt for yourself at home. So, what I did was I imagined, so how would I think and approach this if I was someone who was brought up in a way that, doing yoga 6 days a week is the most normal thing ever. It's like brushing your teeth. And I would really think about it. Well, of course, I would just do it. I wouldn't think about it. It would be a non negotiable. And that's it. I mean, it's just very neutral. You just go and you do it. And that kind of, you see, that minimizes that resistance that often happens when we don't have that program and we're like, should I do an hour of yoga now? Because, a person that was brought up that that's normal is just not going to think about it like that. You go and do it. And so that's what I said to myself every time I was thinking about yoga or my yoga practice. I didn't really have like oh, I'm going to do this every day for 5 minutes a day. Although you could say to yourself, you know what, for 1 month, as I'm really growing into this, whatever you're growing into, this area of your life, I'm going to take 3 minutes a day and just really think about how the person that's already living this, or if I was brought up like this, how would I be thinking? How would I be doing it? And then the important thing is to do it that way too. So you reprogram your mind, you start to reprogram your thinking by thinking these thoughts often, and then you also do it. So, and then the combination of that puts into place new patterns. So you kind of up level your patterns. And then before you know it, your new normal set point is set higher. And that's exactly what happened in my case. So for me now, the six, sorry, doing yoga 6 days a week is for now normal. I don't do it 6 days a week. That was during the challenge. I do it now 4 to 5 times a week. But still, I mean, that's my new stabilized level, and it's sustainable, because with every change that you also create in your life, I want it to be sustainable. I don't want you to apply something that's just going to kind of, work for 3 weeks and then, kind of fall back. We want to make sure that, we reprogram things so that they last, for years, decades, and so on and so forth. Also, when it comes to these set points, one thing that I really want to make clear, because it's fascinating, right? The set points or the limitations or your capability, they're decided by your mind. It's the mind that comes up with, oh yeah, this is normal, this is how much I could do, this is probably too much. But the fact is that your mind won't be able to tell you your real limitation, because the mind, as it is in its own perspective, it has a limited view. It only knows what it knows. It doesn't know what it doesn't know. And your body is actually a much better a much better indicator of your true capacity. So I know that we talked about yoga in my particular example, but I use this across the board with different things. Also I'm using it with content creation now, but I wanted to give you like different examples for each strategy. So the mind is going to come up with limitations and try to keep you within those limitations, but your body is really the better indicator. For example, I'm absolutely certain that you have once been in a plank and your trainer was like, you were in the plank for 60 seconds already. You're like, oh my God, I'm dying. Like, can't wait for until, it's over. And then your trainer's like, and let's go for another 60 seconds. And your mind is like, no, no. I'm going to die. I can't do it. Da, 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 da. And then you're there, you're shaking. And somehow you get through the 60 seconds. So you see, that's exactly where you've hacked your untapped potential. You've gone beyond what your mind told you that you're capable of. So this is exactly what we want to be doing with this stuff. We want to stretch the capacity and make sure that you play in this region that was unknown for you before. So the body is capable of much more than what your mind is telling you, is what I'm essentially trying to tell you. Your body, your creative, your brain is capable of so much more than what your mind is telling you. And always look at the capacity of your body, because when your body is at capacity, it's done. You're not going to be able to lift a finger. Your muscles are going to be hurting. Like if your trainer was like, and now let's go for another 60 seconds. And your body is just like, nope, it's going to collapse and it's going to tell you exactly when you've reached your limit. The mind, on the other hand, is going to interpret that you've reached your limit, where in fact, you have not yet reached your limit. Yeah, so by playing with these thoughts, by stretching your capacity, by putting yourself into the thinking of either, yourself as if this was your new normal since forever, as if this is as normal as brushing your teeth, or in the perspective of someone who's living that reality right now, you can put your normal set point higher to a higher set point, so that that one becomes your new normal. And that the more you do it, the easier it's going to be for you to step into action and tap into that untapped potential and see, wow, okay, there's so much more I could be doing here. Strategy number 2 that I use to unlock my untapped potential is that I regularly expose myself to people who are already living the reality that I want to be living. Now, say that you want to be more consistent with something, whether that's work in your business. It's often, in business with content creation or with things that, aren't like the most fun, and you want to be more consistent, then absolutely. Expose yourself to people who are already consistent. This is currently for me, like I mentioned in the beginning, I really want to up level my content. I also want to be more consistent with my posting on Instagram, which is where, I've been posting, but I know that's a place where I know that I have more. I know that I'm capable of more. And I really want to be consistent with, a specific schedule, 4 times a week, posting higher quality stuff, better content and all of that stuff. But currently, I'm not living that, and so I want to now expose myself to people who are already doing that, and for who, again, this is their normal. For them, it's like the most normal thing to not just do 4 reels a week or however, but to do like 5 reels a week. So the reason for doing that is you want to go into the energetic field of that person. We need to remember that we're energetic beings, 99% energy, 1% matter. So we are going to feel, whether we're mentally aware of that or not, we are feeling the energy of other people. And if the closer you get to that person, it doesn't need to be physically, like you don't need to be standing next to them. It could be also like through watching their videos and just kind of being in their energetic field of the content that they've been creating. You're tapping into how they're living, into their energy. And you can kind of start to understand, not just mentally, but also with energy. Oh, so this is how they approach things. So it kind of, transfers a little bit, like in a good way. And this is why people always say, like, go, surround yourself with people who know more, who are further along, because you not only want to learn from those people, you will learn. Maybe you're going to learn their systems, you're going to learn how they think about things, how they approach things, but you're also going to be able to feel their energy, because the energy of a person who's consistent is very different than the energy of a person who's not consistent in a certain field. And you want to understand, but how come they're consistent? And right now, I don't know if that I've mentioned this, but for someone who's inspiring me to be consistent is a YouTuber. She's also a content creator. She's called Katie Stelke. She's from Canada, and she's been like uploading videos to YouTube for, I think, 15 years, 1 video a week. Like, imagine the consistency. 1 video a week. I mean, 1 video, for those of you who are not in doing any kind of production work, is a lot of work, like a lot of work. And imagine doing that every week, and not just doing that, then creating separate content for Instagram and doing her working with clients and living her life, whatever. So for me, that's very inspiring. And I wanted to understand, so how come she is consistent? What does she think? What are the thoughts that she's having? Because obviously, for someone who's inconsistent with social media content, like I was, um, my thinking is, it's fine if I miss a week. Like, who's going to care? I'm not a big account. All good, all good. Or, I just use the channel for nourishment. It's not really an acquisition channel and all of that stuff. So, uh, as you can see, all of these thoughts are kind of giving me permission to stay inconsistent. Like, yeah, it's fine, it's fine. Now, someone who's consistent isn't going to be having those thoughts. They're going to be having other kinds of thoughts, like, I don't know, maybe this is my dedication to myself. If I've set myself this goal, I want to keep it through. I really want to make sure that I offer something of service every week. I really want to make sure that I prove to myself that I can do it. I really, for us to decipher that, it really is helpful to get into the mind of that person. And then if they are sharing content, for example, like Katie Stelke is doing, you also can hear their thinking and you can kind of pick up on, oh, so that's how they think about things. Because with these things, you want to go a level deeper. It's not just about the systems like we talked about before. We're 99% energy, 1% matter. The systems are almost like the last thing in the whole equation. You want to understand how this person ticks, like why do they keep being consistent? How are they consistent also in the times when maybe they're sick or they have other life challenges? How do they keep that up in a way so that they don't burn themselves out? Because we always want to make sure that there's a balance in everything. So she's been a huge inspiration for me. And you can see here now we're also combining strategy 1 and strategy 2. Strategy 1 is, how is that person thinking? Let me start thinking that way. Strategy 2 is putting yourself in the energetic field of that person, really being exposed to how they live life, the choices that they're making, and witnessing them in being consistent. I mean, this is almost the same thing as doing co-working, right? For me, for example, I know that if I am in a space that's dedicated to work, I set myself a goal, I'm gonna reach that goal. If I'm left to my own devices, who knows? Maybe I can reach that goal. Maybe I'll find an excuse. So, this is all about knowing yourself and knowing what works for you. And the more you're kind of, like I said, in the energetic field of that person, the more that can help you strengthen that characteristic or that area where you feel like you're not living your full potential yet. By the way, this is also a very, very helpful tip if you want to increase your income on your earning capacity, or you want to grow in business. Same thing. You want to expose yourself to people who are already there living that life. So whether it's a business owner that leads their business in a certain way, making a certain amount of income, you want to be in touch with these people. Because here's the thing, the way that you're thinking is creating your current reality. The way that they're thinking is creating their reality, which is different than yours. So again, you want to start to not just understand how they're thinking, but you want to understand their energy. Because, if we just talk about money, for example, the energy of someone who spends €1,000 on, I don't know, champagne is different than your energy when you spend €1,000 if you don't spend it daily. You know what I mean? And so you want to understand, how are they, what do they think about money? What do they think about spending money? What do they think about how money comes into their lives? How do they spend money? What's the thought process behind it? What do they do to create money? Or in the business area, what do they do to create this business that they have for themselves? What choices are they making? What's their energy? Is it like firm energy, go energy? Is it more like thinking energy? Are they acting fast? Are they, how are they making decisions? And how are they, are they trusting life? You want to understand all of this on a deeper level. And the easiest way to do that is to put yourself in the energetic field of that person. So if you can get into touch with people who are living that life, who are, like I said, leading those businesses, and you can create a personal contact, do that. And if you get a chance to just like kind of pick their brain and observe how they're, again, spending money, making business decisions, that can be so different, because then you're already, as you're with them, you're living that reality with them. It's informing your energetic field. But you could also follow them on Instagram or on YouTube. That also works. It also works. Or read about them. That's also kind of the energetic field that they're creating, that you're then tapping into and informing your energetic field that another reality is not only possible, but that it's safe, and it starts getting familiar. And the moment it starts getting familiar, it starts feeling normal, and it's not scary anymore. My third strategy to unlock my untapped potential is that I constantly challenge myself to learn and grow. And the way that I do that is by literally setting challenges for myself. And so I want to say that if you're in this community, one of my core values is growth. And if you're in this community, then it's a big chance that one of your core values is growth too. So let's grow together. I'm so happy to share this with you so that hopefully it helps you too. So I love challenges. I love doing challenges. I mean, taking part in challenges. And I also like creating challenges for my audience. I've done a ton of them over the years. I like to do one probably every year. And I also like to set challenges for myself, especially when I feel like, I feel like I could do more. I feel like there's more. I feel like I could grow this. I feel like I could create more. What can I do? And so I create these projects that challenge me or like take me to the next level. So one of past examples was last December. I challenged myself to record a podcast episode every week. So the cadence changed from my normal posting, which was once a week. And then for December, I decided, I kept it a bit like, let's see how it goes. But in my mind, I was like, I really want to create 24 episodes, which I did. And it was so much fun, the reason why I challenged myself is because I wanted to override my perfectionistic pattern when it came to podcast creating, which was like, well, it needs to be perfect. And I also wanted to see, what can I tap into? Which areas of my brain can I tap into if I have to come up with an idea every day, non negotiable? Like, what can, because if we have this much time, we're going to be like, but let me think about it. Let me think about it. But if you have to produce something in 24 hours, you're going to find it, whether you want to or not. Maybe some are going to be better, some are not going to be as good, but you're going to do your best to find something. And I mean, this is the same with the news cycle, right? They are the news. They find something that's happening in the world every day. I mean, listen, we could discuss how productive that is, but that's how it works. And it just forces you to tap into a different field of your brain. And so I wanted to stretch myself with creativity and overcome my perfectionistic pattern. At the same time, I had this, I always loved Vlogmas on YouTube. If you don't know Vlogmas, it's where certain like YouTube creators would film every day in December. So this is, of course, a lot of work, but it's like a magical time and everything, whatever. So I really, really liked it. And I wanted to take that idea from the YouTube format into the podcast format. And that's why I came up with the December special. And so when it comes to setting challenges, where I'm getting at is you want to set a challenge that where you really want to grow in, like in a form of a project that also offers value to other people and that it's fun and enjoyable for you. And my December challenge was, or my December special was exactly that. And what it led to is because I love the process, it really stretched me. I was delivering value every single day, like so much more than I had been just with my weekly episodes. It led to me like having the most amazing time during a very difficult time in my life, and also led to me having the most successful month in business up until then. So, always it also shows you how when you give value, value always, always, always comes back. So that's one example. I also, right now I want to challenge myself with, like I mentioned before, with Instagram creation and with YouTube creation. And, all of these things are tough. It's taking me like 3 times longer than before when it was like, oh, let me just quickly do this. Da, 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 da. But now I'm like really, putting in my time and effort and energy because I know that I can there's more. And, if nothing else, for the fun of it, let's explore, let's see what's in there, what can come to life. And I've been having these I've been preparing this episode for a couple of days now, and it's like in my energetic field. And of course, because of course YouTube, or my YouTube algorithm suggested a video which was so fascinating. So I don't know if you know Jason Derulo. He's an American singer and probably by this point business owner, whatever he does, I don't know. I'm sure you probably know some of his songs. He was very popular in 2010s and had a bunch of hit songs in the past 5 years. But so for some reason, it's one of those things where it's, oh, a coincidence. It's not really a coincidence. The algorithm suggested me an interview of him. So someone was interviewing him. And in that interview, he shared how right before Corona hit, his career was kind of at a standstill. Like it wasn't really growing. It was like, it was, And then Corona hit and he was like at home and he didn't know what to do. And then he like saw this platform called TikTok and he was like, whoa, why don't I do something here? And he set himself a challenge. I mean, listen to this. He set himself a challenge of recording 6 videos, six TikToks a day. A day. And he was like, I said to myself, 6 TikToks a day, non-negotiable. And see, this is what I mean when I talk about challenges. It's like non-negotiable at this particular number every day. And so he generated an immense level of value with those 6 videos. And the other thing, which I thought was even more interesting, is that he said that it forced him. It's kind of the same thing that I'm sharing that I found with myself too. It forced him to tap into a completely different part of his brain that he normally wouldn't be using because he had to come up with these 6 ideas. Like, it had to happen. Like for him, it was that non-negotiable. And so it was just like an idea generating machine at that time. And so he created this a pool of value that was sent out into the world, and people started following him along and liking his music, rediscovering his music. It revived his career, it opened up business opportunities, and so on and so forth. And so like I said, it's a combination of doing something you like and you enjoy. I mean, he chose that platform for a reason. It's not, you always want to choose things that are fun for you. That has to be, the baseline. And then you offer value to the world and you also give yourself a challenge. And it also helps if you have a time limit. For me, at least, I'm not sure about Jason Derulo. What if, maybe he's still doing it. I don't know. For me, I know that it always helps to give myself a specific time frame. So for the December special, it was the month of December. Now for my Instagram plus YouTube up leveling challenge, it's fall. Sorry, it's summer and fall 2026, and then I'll reassess at the end of the year for 2027. Oh my God, 2027 is almost coming, which I don't want to think about. But yes, so challenging yourself with projects that excite you can be a great way to tap into that part of your brain that you don't even use, that you normally don't use, and it forces you to tap into something that has been untapped before. And even though the process of it is challenging, because you're going outside of your comfort zone, outside of the ordinary, it's also on the other side of it so fulfilling, because you're like, what? I did that. I did that. That's amazing. It's the same when you're to come back to that plank that you were in. If you got through those extra 60 seconds, even though you thought you were going to lose it every second of those 60 seconds, but you stuck it out, you pushed yourself a little bit, you learned to be with the discomfort. On the other side of it, there's like, yeah, that was kind of cool. I didn't even know I had it in me. There you go. So that's my wish for you, that you get to in exactly the area that you want to grow, that you're like, I didn't know I had that in me. I want to offer you a little additional resource, because we're talking about potential and all of this good, juicy stuff. I recorded a podcast episode in the December special that is called Becoming Superhuman and Tapping into the Full Potential of Your Brain. So this is episode, let me see, 56. I'm going to leave a little code here that you can scan, or there's going to be a link in the description. It's a really cool thing if you want to dive deeper into it and understand how you can access even more of your potential. And this is channeled wisdom, which I absolutely love and adore, because I think it's just things that, is what we don't yet know, and we can really, really learn from that. So I hope that it serves you too, and that, that you learn even more strategies. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the What If It Is Possible podcast. And please share your biggest insight in the comment section of this YouTube video or on Instagram at Taida Glaser. I always love hearing from you. And if you love this episode and you know someone in your life who could benefit from it, then please share it with them too. Who knows? Maybe this is just the thing that they need to hear. Know that your dreams matter. You matter. And remember that anything is possible when you start to change your inner world. Thank you for being here. I can't wait to see you back here next week. Sending lots of blessings your way. Mwah.